Have you ever wondered what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who stand tall like unshakable mountains in any storm? Today, we're going to explore 12 powerful Stoic principles that will help you build bulletproof confidence that cannot be destroyed by external circumstances or other people's opinions. These aren't just theoretical concepts from ancient philosophy. These are practical tools that you can start applying immediately to transform your self-image and develop the kind of inner strength that attracts respect and admiration wherever you go. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to develop authentic confidence that comes from within, how to handle criticism and setbacks without losing your composure, and most importantly, how to maintain your self-worth regardless of what life throws at you. But before we dive into these life-changing principles, let me share a story that perfectly illustrates what true confidence looks like. In ancient Rome, there was a senator named Marcus who had lost everything: his wealth, his political position, and even his family's reputation due to false accusations. While others in his situation would have hidden in shame, Marcus continued to walk through the Roman Forum with his head held high, greeting everyone with the same dignity and respect he had always shown. When asked how he maintained such composure in the face of such devastating losses, Marcus simply replied, "My worth was never determined by my possessions, my title, or what others thought of me. These external things were never truly mine to begin with. What belongs to me, my character, my principles, and my ability to choose my response to any situation, no one can take away." This story embodies the essence of Stoic confidence. It's not about arrogance or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about building an unshakable foundation that remains solid regardless of external circumstances. Before we begin, if you find this content valuable, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you can stay updated with new content. Let's begin. Principle 1. Know what you can and cannot control. The foundation of Stoic confidence begins with understanding the fundamental principle that separates the wise from the anxious, the dichotomy of control. This isn't just philosophical theory, it's the bedrock upon which all genuine confidence is built. Epictetus, who knew something about overcoming adversity, having been a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, taught us that there are only two categories of things in life: those within our control and those beyond it. What lies within our control? Our thoughts, our decisions, our actions, and our responses to any situation. Everything else, other people's opinions, outcomes, the past, the future, even our own reputation, lies outside our direct control. Think about the last time you felt anxious or insecure. I guarantee it was because you were trying to control something that wasn't actually yours to control. Maybe you were worried about what someone thought of your presentation, or anxious about whether you'd get that promotion, or stressed about whether someone would like you. But here's the liberating truth. When you focus exclusively on what you can control, anxiety dissolves and confidence naturally emerges. Instead of worrying about whether your presentation will be well received, you focus on preparing thoroughly and delivering it with authenticity. Instead of stressing about getting the promotion, you concentrate on doing excellent work and presenting your achievements clearly. This shift in focus is like switching from trying to control the weather to choosing appropriate clothing. One approach leaves you frustrated and powerless. The other gives you complete agency over your experience. Practice this exercise. Every time you feel confidence wavering, ask yourself, is this something I can directly control? If the answer is yes, take action. If it's no, practice letting go and redirecting your energy to what you can influence. Principle 2. Build your character, not your image. In our image-obsessed world, most people exhaust themselves trying to manage how others perceive them. They carefully curate their social media, rehearse conversations to sound impressive, and constantly adjust their behavior based on who's watching. This approach to confidence is like building a house on sand. It looks good temporarily but crumbles under pressure. Stoic confidence works differently. Instead of managing your image, you build your character. Instead of trying to appear confident, you become confident through consistent, virtuous action. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the most powerful man in the world, spent his time focusing not on his reputation, but on becoming a better person. His private journal, which we now know as Meditations, reveals a man constantly working on his character, examining his motivations, correcting his thoughts, and striving to act with justice, wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. Character-based confidence is unshakable because it's based on something real and substantive. When you know you've acted with integrity, when you've kept your word, when you've faced your fears and done what needed to be done, you carry yourself differently. This isn't arrogance. It's the quiet assurance that comes from knowing who you are. Start building character-based confidence by focusing on small daily actions that align with your values. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Speak truthfully, even when it's uncomfortable. Help others without expecting recognition. Face challenges head-on instead of avoiding them. Each time you choose character over image, you make a deposit in your confidence account. Over time, these deposits compound into an unshakable sense of self-worth that no external circumstance can diminish. Principle 3. Embrace voluntary discomfort. One of the most counterintuitive aspects of Stoic philosophy is the practice of voluntary discomfort. While most people avoid discomfort at all costs, Stoics deliberately sought it out as a way to build strength and confidence. Why would anyone choose discomfort? Because confidence isn't built in comfort zones. It's forged in the fire of challenges overcome. Every time you voluntarily do something difficult, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you initially believed. Seneca regularly practiced voluntary poverty, giving up his luxuries for periods of time to remind himself that he could live happily with less. He would sleep on the floor, eat simple foods, and wear rough clothing. This wasn't masochism, it was training. By voluntarily experiencing what he feared losing, he removed the power those fears had over him. Modern applications of this principle might include taking cold showers, exercising when you don't feel like it, having difficult conversations you've been avoiding, or fasting periodically. The specific discomfort matters less than the practice of choosing to do hard things when you could choose the easy path. Each time you choose the difficult path voluntarily, you build evidence that you can handle whatever life throws at you. This evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. You stop fearing discomfort because you know you've chosen it before and survived, even thrived. Start small. Choose one minor discomfort to embrace daily. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier, doing 10 push-ups when you're tired, or calling someone you've been meaning to reach out to. The goal isn't to punish yourself, but to prove to yourself that you can choose courage over comfort. Principle 4. Practice negative visualization. Negative visualization might sound like pessimism, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for building confidence and appreciation. This Stoic practice involves imagining the loss of things you value, not to become depressed, but to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for life's inevitable challenges. Seneca regularly imagined losing his wealth, his health, and even his life. By mentally rehearsing these scenarios, he accomplished two things. He reduced his anxiety about potential losses and increased his appreciation for what he currently had. This practice builds confidence because it removes the unknown factor from fear. Most of our anxieties come from uncertainty about how we'd handle difficult situations. When you've mentally rehearsed various scenarios, you approach life with the confidence of someone who has already considered the worst-case scenarios and developed strategies for handling them. Negative visualization also prevents you from becoming overly attached to external things that could be taken away. When you regularly contemplate the impermanence of your possessions, relationships, and circumstances, you invest more heavily in the things that can't be taken from you: your character, your principles, and your ability to choose your response to any situation. Practice this by spending a few minutes each week imagining the loss of something you value. If you lost your job tomorrow, how would you handle it? If your relationship ended, what would you do? If you faced a serious health challenge, how would you respond? By considering these scenarios in advance, you build mental resilience and reduce their power to shake your confidence. Principle 5. Focus on your circle of influence. Confident people understand the difference between their circle of concern and their circle of influence. Your circle of concern includes everything you worry about: global politics, other people's decisions, past events, future uncertainties. Your circle of influence includes only those things you can actually impact through your actions. Most people waste enormous amounts of mental energy worrying about things in their circle of concern that lie outside their circle of influence. This creates a feeling of helplessness that erodes confidence. Stoics do the opposite. They focus intensely on their circle of influence, which creates a sense of agency and power. Marcus Aurelius faced plagues, wars, and betrayals during his reign, but he didn't waste time lamenting these circumstances. Instead, he focused on how he could respond with wisdom, justice, and courage. He couldn't control the plague, but he could control how he led during the crisis. To apply this principle, make a list of everything you're currently worried about. Divide it into 2 columns: things you can influence and things you cannot. For everything in the cannot influence column, practice letting go. For everything in the can influence column, take action. This practice immediately boosts confidence because it redirects your energy toward areas where you actually have power. Instead of feeling helpless about circumstances beyond your control, you become empowered by focusing on where you can make a difference. Principle 6. Develop emotional resilience. True confidence isn't the absence of difficult emotions. It's the ability to experience those emotions without being controlled by them. Stoics understood that we can't always control what we feel, but we can always control how we respond to what we feel. Epictetus taught that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. When someone insults you, it's not the insult that damages your confidence, it's your interpretation of the insult and your decision about how much power to give it. Building emotional resilience means developing the ability to pause between feeling and reacting. When you feel anger, disappointment, fear, or hurt, instead of immediately acting on those emotions, you create space to choose your response. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless like a robot. It means developing the wisdom to recognize that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. They provide information, but they don't have to dictate your actions. Practice this by observing your emotions without immediately judging them as good or bad. When you notice anger arising, instead of suppressing it or acting on it impulsively, simply acknowledge it. I notice I'm feeling angry right now. This simple act of observation creates the space you need to choose a wise response. Principle 7. Define success by your own standards. One of the quickest ways to destroy confidence is to measure yourself by other people's definitions of success. When you let others determine what achievement looks like, you surrender your power to feel satisfied with your life. Stoics understood that true success isn't about accumulating external markers of achievement. It's about living in accordance with your values and making progress toward becoming the person you want to be. This is why Marcus Aurelius, despite being Emperor of Rome, measured his worth by his character rather than his power. Society tells us that success means wealth, status, recognition, or popularity. But these external measures of success are like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No amount will ever be enough because the standards keep changing and there's always someone with more. Stoic success is different. It's about integrity, growth, contribution, and the cultivation of virtue. These measures of success are entirely within your control and create lasting satisfaction rather than temporary highs, followed by the anxiety of having to prove yourself again. Define what success means to you based on your values, not society's expectations. Maybe success means being a person your children can respect, or contributing meaningfully to your field, or maintaining your principles under pressure. When you measure yourself by your own authentic standards, confidence becomes natural because you're competing only with your past self. Principle 8. Practice gratitude and present moment awareness. Confident people aren't those who have everything. They're those who appreciate what they have. Gratitude isn't just a nice sentiment. It's a powerful practice that fundamentally shifts your relationship with your circumstances and builds unshakable confidence. When you regularly practice gratitude, you train your mind to notice abundance rather than scarcity. This shift in perspective is crucial for confidence because scarcity thinking creates anxiety and insecurity, while abundance thinking creates peace and assurance. Marcus Aurelius regularly reminded himself to be grateful for simple things: the sunrise, the loyalty of friends, the opportunity to learn and grow. Even during the darkest periods of his reign, he maintained this practice because he understood its power to maintain perspective and inner strength. Present moment awareness is equally important for confidence. Most anxiety comes from dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about future uncertainties. When you anchor yourself in the present moment, you access your full power and presence. Practice gratitude by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Make them specific and varied. Maybe one thing about your relationships, one about your circumstances, and one about yourself. This simple practice rewires your brain to notice the positive aspects of your life. For present moment awareness, practice bringing your attention back to your breath throughout the day. When you notice your mind wandering to worries or regrets, gently redirect it to what's happening right now. This practice builds the mental muscle of staying grounded in reality rather than getting lost in anxious thoughts. Principle 9. Turn obstacles into opportunities. The Stoic principle. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way is perhaps the most confidence-building mindset you can develop. Instead of seeing obstacles as evidence that you're not capable, you learn to see them as opportunities to grow stronger. Every challenge you face is a chance to develop qualities you couldn't develop in comfortable circumstances. Patience can only be built by dealing with delays. Courage can only be developed by facing fears. Resilience only emerges through overcoming setbacks. When you shift your perspective to see obstacles as training rather than punishment, your entire relationship with difficulty changes. Instead of avoiding challenges, you begin to welcome them as opportunities to become the person you want to be. This doesn't mean seeking out unnecessary hardship or pretending that difficulties don't hurt. It means recognizing that the same event that could destroy your confidence, if viewed as evidence of your inadequacy, can build your confidence if viewed as an opportunity to prove your strength. Practice this by reframing your current challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can this make me stronger?" This shift in questioning moves you from victim mindset to growth mindset, which is essential for building confidence. Principle 10. Master your inner dialogue. The conversation you have with yourself throughout the day is the most important factor determining your confidence level. Most people are far harsher critics of themselves than they would ever be to a friend, and this internal criticism systematically destroys confidence. Stoics understood the power of self-talk and worked deliberately to make their inner dialogue supportive rather than destructive. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations is essentially a record of him coaching himself toward better thinking and behavior. Confident self-talk isn't about delusional positive thinking or ignoring reality. It's about speaking to yourself with the same compassion and encouragement you'd offer to someone you care about who was facing challenges. Instead of, "I'm so stupid for making that mistake," try, "That mistake taught me something valuable." Instead of, "I'll never be able to do this," try, "This is challenging, but I can learn and improve." Instead of, "Everyone is judging me," try, "Most people are focused on their own concerns." Monitor your self-talk for a day and notice how often it's critical versus encouraging. Then practice consciously shifting toward more supportive inner dialogue. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about treating yourself with the respect and encouragement that builds confidence, rather than the criticism that destroys it. Principle 11. Live by your values, not your moods. Confident people are reliable to themselves and others. They don't act differently based on how they feel in the moment. They act based on who they've decided to be. This consistency creates deep self-respect and trust that forms the foundation of confidence. When you make decisions based on your values rather than your momentary feelings, you build integrity. And integrity, the alignment between your values and your actions, is perhaps the most important source of lasting confidence. This means keeping commitments to yourself even when you don't feel like it. It means treating people with respect even when you're in a bad mood. It means doing what you said you'd do even when it's inconvenient. Each time you choose your values over your impulses, you build trust with yourself. This self-trust is crucial for confidence because it means you can count on yourself to handle whatever comes up. You know that regardless of how you feel, you'll act in ways that align with who you want to be. Identify your core values and write them down. Then look for opportunities each day to choose these values over temporary emotions or impulses. This practice builds the kind of character-based confidence that external circumstances cannot shake. Principle 12. Embrace lifelong learning. Finally, confident people maintain what Stoics called a beginner's mind, the humility to recognize that there's always more to learn and room to grow. This might seem counterintuitive, but acknowledging what you don't know is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. Arrogance pretends to know everything and therefore stops growing. Humility acknowledges limitations and therefore creates space for improvement. Confident people are secure enough in themselves to admit mistakes, ask for help, and change their minds when presented with new information. Socrates, who greatly influenced Stoic thinking, was considered the wisest man in Athens precisely because he was the only one who acknowledged how little he knew. This learned ignorance freed him from the anxiety of having to maintain a facade of knowing everything. When you embrace learning as a lifelong process, failures become data points rather than judgments on your worth. Mistakes become course corrections rather than evidence of inadequacy. Criticism becomes information rather than attacks on your character. Practice this by actively seeking out opportunities to learn and grow. Ask questions. Admit when you don't understand something. Thank people for feedback instead of defending yourself. This approach to life builds the kind of confidence that grows stronger over time rather than becoming more fragile. Conclusion. Building your Stoic confidence. These 12 principles aren't just theoretical concepts. They're practical tools for building the kind of confidence that weathers any storm. True confidence isn't about feeling good all the time or never doubting yourself. It's about knowing that regardless of what happens, you have the character and skills to handle it with dignity. Start with 1 or 2 principles that resonate most strongly with you. Practice them consistently until they become natural, then gradually incorporate others. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Each step you take toward living these principles builds your confidence and resilience. The ancient Stoics faced wars, plagues, political upheaval, and personal losses, yet they maintained their composure and continued to contribute meaningfully to the world. You face different challenges, but you have access to the same timeless wisdom that helped them thrive. Your confidence isn't determined by your circumstances, your past, or other people's opinions. It's built through the daily practice of choosing wisdom over impulse, character over image, and growth over comfort. These principles have created confidence in countless people throughout history, and they can do the same for you. Start today. Choose one principle and take one small action to apply it. Your future confident self will thank you for beginning this journey. As Seneca reminded us, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Let this be the beginning of your unshakable confidence.